It's so nice to talk with you, James Hilgendorf. In our last conversation, we talked about Hiroshima and Nagasaki and your views about peace in the world. Your documentary work has been so important to us. I really encourage people to look you up on YouTube and look at your work. And I wanted to bring you back for the beginning of the year to say, what do you think about the time we're in? I really value your input and would like to hear it.
Well, thank you very much, Phyllis. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. You know, amid all of the divisiveness and chaos and like a lot of loss of hope, I think, especially among younger people, I feel this is really a time of immense opportunities, a real shift in the core of this country. And I look at it very positively. And we were talking the other day, you mentioned about the thing is coming up in our face all the time, every day now, is the wall and the border and immigration. And I just feel like this is kind of symptomatic of a lot of things that are going on, not only in America, but around the world. And I feel like it's an effort to hang on to an identity of who we were, and instead of really moving out into who we could be, what this country could really be, and hanging on to a lot of ideas that we have about ourselves, and so those are kind of some of the things. And then also I look at this kind of border thing and this wall thing from a perspective of what's you know, we see so many natural disasters that are happening in our country, hurricanes and drought and fires, enormous fires where I'm at, just incredible. Things that the weather is changing drastically, and it's like a lot of people don't want to really look at what this is. But I look at it, you know, my background is Buddhist background, and we talk about like a concept of eshofuni, which means that yourself and your environment are one. They're not separate. This is kind of interesting, if I may say. Back in the early 1900s, quantum physics was being developed, and one of the great physicists of that time was a fellow named John Wheeler, and he was one of the greatest. And he wrote one time, he said, if anything that quantum physics tells us, it's this, that the world sitting out there is that the world is not sitting out there. There's a connection. We're interconnected. Everything is interconnected. So I see, like, even the country as a whole, we have like a mindset or something. May I read you just a little piece from one of my books here?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. This is called. It's a short piece, but it's called Hurricane, and maybe get across kind of what I'm talking about. A hurricane bears down once again. Enormous swaths of water fume and spume and spire over the waters and the landscape. The gods are angry once again. Yes, there are gods. A hurricane is a god. Crows clustering in bare trees are diviners and gods. The sun and moon are gods. They are all an extension of ourselves and move in silent paths through time and space and the universe to give expression to the fullness or contraction of a person's mind and heart. There is anger brooding over America. There's a tide of buried hatred, furious at anything beyond the boundary of one's own prejudices and likes and dislikes, what one thinks of as a proper world, a decent world among allies and friends. And as our minds disintegrate, denying admittance to the billions outside our own comfortable spheres, the winds howl, the ocean churns, the sun blisters the drought-stricken land, even weeds struggle to move and breathe, and the birds and animals hide to escape retribution from the skies. As our hearts regress and our minds build impenetrable walls, nature, our mirror, lashes out with reflected anger and hatred. The pole caps melt and send tides of flooding waters toward land. The oceans belch Sargasso seas of plastic bottles regurgitating foul, deadly dreams. It is all ourselves. It is a pettiness and a denial of our greater self. It is the past hung on to and strangling our own better dreams. Hurricanes and winds and rain and fear penetrating the coasts. It is all within the human heart. So that's a little something maybe to try to say what I'm trying to say. What do you have to say that you're on your mind here this year?
Well, I have to say that I am amazed at your ability to put into words the general condition or feeling of the earth, and yet at the same time express hopefulness and a positiveness about the future. Because as I see the plastic swirling in the ocean, or the terrible fires that we've had, and the way you've written about this, it can be very frightening and very depressing.
Yeah,
so
true.
How you can find the possibility in all of this is what's on my mind and why I called you for a conversation. Someone very wise in my life said that our president, and I hate to say this on the air because I will get very bad mail, but that he needs love. That his behavior is an extraordinary cry for love, cry for acceptance, that of all things he's never ever gotten is true love. And that may be the reason he is operating from this place. I don't know.
That may be very true. That could be very true.
So that I encourage people to, sure, we can criticize, but to literally pray for peace in his heart and in the hearts of those leaders around him is where I am about this subject, because I think we are in great danger, more danger than the petty conversations on the daily basis that occur.
Well, I think that's really great. I know that our president, the way I look at it, he's certainly woken up a lot of things in us, awakened us to a lot of things about how we view things and who we are, and it's enabled a lot of people, I think, to really stand up and bring out their own power and their own voice among all of this. And that's what we need. I think the only thing that's going to change anything is one single human being just totally revolutionizing their own life. So I think, I'm kind of amazed as I go along, because I feel more and more like I don't really know anything. I don't really know anything about my life, because I'm always discovering things about my life that I need to work on. And I think just even recently, I've been thinking about the fact that I judge people and have judged people a lot. And I judge about their capabilities and their potentials. And then I've had experiences, even just recently, that made me really, 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 they were humbling experiences. I knew a lady up in Oregon. My wife and I knew her, and she's still living. And when we first knew her 10 years ago, she was on welfare. She had tremendous physical disabilities. She had a son she was trying to raise and struggling to raise. And the thing, I just talked to her recently a few days ago after a long time, and what struck me was the fact that here was a woman who we may not think about as having really a profound effect on anything, and really maybe not in the forefront of things or in the limelight, but her spirit is so amazing. She is trying to work with whatever she has to create a life of joy. And I was just very humbled by this again. And I have to look at myself and think, how can I work on myself once again, change myself? And I think that's the way the world is going to change, because we can get a different government, and we can get different society, a different economic system, we can get a different social system. But if people, just the individuals, one after another, don't change, then we're just going to repeat everything all over again, because that's human nature.
Well, how does, you talk about Buddhism, and this is a place to share this, because I think we don't know enough about different perspectives. So what would Buddhists say about for example, the conversation about whether there is climate change, or whether this is just the way it's supposed to be and this is not man-made? How would you resolve this particular conflict?
Well, I don't, from a Buddhist perspective, it's like everything emanates out of the individual, everything, and the life condition of the individual, and you take it on a societal level and a countrywide basis. The level of, you might say, the life condition of our country is affecting all of this. I don't think, I was reading that little piece there before, but these things are not, they don't just come out of the blue. They are really a reflection of what's going on in our life. And there's more, as you see it every day, there's a lot of chaos developing in society. People are very confused. You see young people who have lost hope. If I were a young person, I guess I would be pretty negative about growing up in this world right now. But it all comes down to just the life condition. And how can this be changed? Well, I don't know, from my own Buddhist perspective, it's with the Soka Gakkai International, but it's based on chanting the words Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And this is the title of the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra is one of the great stories of Asian literature and religion. And basically, it's about Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the historical Buddha. And toward the end of his life, he gathered a bunch of his disciples on a mountaintop. And he said all of a sudden, after he'd been talking to them for 40 years, that I've taught you a lot in these 40 years, but I haven't revealed the truth yet to you. And he begins to expound the Lotus Sutra. And this very great part of this thing during this ceremony, the whole entourage there of his many disciples is lifted up into the air, and a huge treasure tower emerges from beneath the earth, and it's a third as big as the earth, and it's bedecked with jewels, and all of these myriads of bodhisattvas and Buddhas come from all the universes throughout the universe to hear him expound the Lotus Sutra. And and what is in the Lotus Sutra? It's about the eternity of life. And also this story. Well, is this story really true? Did this really happen? There's all this amazing stuff. Well, it did. It did happen, and at the same time, it did not happen. But rather, it was maybe a metaphor for an emerging state of life that Shakyamuni, Buddha, 2,500 years ago, experienced within his life, a vast state of life that he found within his own life, and he wanted to convey that to other people. And he spent his whole life trying to do that. And that's what the Lotus Sutra is about. Basically, it comes down to the fact, whether it's Buddhism or anything else, is to respect this enormous potential that every single person on the face of this planet has within their own life for happiness, for joy, and also to recognize this in all people, to create a society and a world in which this is respected. And it's like a new humanism that we have to propagate. And it goes beyond nationalities, it goes beyond culture, beyond races, beyond ethnicities, beyond sexual preference. It goes beyond religion itself to get down to the core reality of who we are.
My job is to question, so I'm going to question a little bit. Some of the cultures that embrace Buddhism don't seem to have respect for individual development, for individual expression to the degree that we do in the West. Is that a correct assessment from your vantage point?
I think that throughout Buddhism, if you look on, you see things like what's happening in Myanmar. That's a Buddhist country. Apparently, that's what you're talking about too. And you see around the world, Christian nations, Muslim nations, they're all at each other's throat. So there's something wrong there with the way we're looking at religion. Religion should not be separating us. It should be bringing us together. It should be uniting us. So there are various shades and grades of what you might say is religion. But we have to get down, I think, to that basic point. That is the thing of this enormous potential within life itself and within individuals that we have to respect and try to nurture as much as we can. May I just say there's a book written in 1947 by Arnold Toynbee, the great English historian, probably the greatest of the last century. And he wrote this little book called Civilization on Trial. I just bring this up to give it maybe a little perspective on where we're at here in this country, in this world. And he said, historians looking ahead, what are they going to see as the big movement that happened in history that changed things? And he said it wouldn't be the things that are in the headlines, even wars or famines or stock markets or anything else. It's something deeper that is not on the surface, but which is the thing that changes things. And he said if historians 100 years from now, in 2047, they'll look back and they'll say that the most defining thing of the 20th century was the impact of Western civilization upon all the other areas and cultures of the world, like a tremendous shock and just smashing on them. And then he said, looking ahead, though, a little more like in 47,000 years from now, historians will look back and they'll say, well, that was the defining kind of movement or that happened during the 20th century and on there. But what happened then was like a reverse reaction and to kind of impact Western civilization itself, coming from Hinduism, coming from Orthodox Christianity, coming from all these other, coming from Islam, coming all of these and rolling back against Western civilization. And really, it was developing like a clash and a breaking down and a grinding down of all our identities that we have. And he said, like in 47, what will historians think, look back and see, and they'll see that this process that happened was the first step. This what happened in the 20th century was the first step in the creation of a world citizenship, where something, all of our concepts, all of our national borders and walls and all these things were met up with, it was like ground down against each other. And out of this conflict emerged a new life common to all people. The first step in creating a global civilization. And I look at this and I think this is really interesting, but it seems to me like it's happening a lot faster than he's talking about, because you see things all over the world. They're just grinding against each other. This wall down there, this conflict over the wall, over the border. It's a conflict of generations. It's a conflict of ideas. It's a conflict of how we look at ourselves. And it's exposing us all to really think about ourselves in different ways. I don't know if that makes any sense of it.
Well, parts of it did. I mean, no, seriously, I do think that the current times are forcing us to look at ourselves. I'm always wondering, and I would love more reading from you if you have any more reading that you would like to share, any poetry or thought, because I have a feeling that you have a kind of internal spigot of thought that I want to make sure people can hear. Not necessarily agree with, but be exposed to.
I got to turn on the spigot, huh? Okay, here we go. This is another little piece. Okay. It's called Who I Am. Kind of relates to what I was just talking about. I am who I am. Call me Jim or John or Sarah or Jean. I came into this world naked and alone, but behind my appearance were many names tied to innumerable worlds, tied even to the world of ancient fishes and birds that roamed the umbilical plasma as my brain and mind and heart and limbs took shape. I was now a child. I was named. I collected other names that were the only possible ones in my small name-bound world. Indian, Jew, Brazilian, Baptist, French, Moroccan, Christian, Samoan, Muslim, Texan, Arab, Canuck. I wore my name like my clothes. They fit snugly and well. I went to school. I grew. There were other names in my growing world, different colors too, black and brown and white and chocolate and red and yellow. We were like the names of different flowers. As I grew, wars erupted over our names. Jim against Sarah, Jean against John. I took up arms, marching gladly, and in honor to our name-bound ways, millions perished. Hundreds of millions were plowed into the dust. Names died and were forgotten, becoming fodder for the blooming of new grasses and flowers, for a new generation of names. Now we're blooming once again under new names. Jim and John, Sarah and Jean, flowers blooming into a new world and a new name, humanity.
Thank you, James Hilgendorf. You are, I definitely think, one of my favorite writers and filmmakers. I am still wondering, though, the name of this program, the series that I'm doing, is Daily Practice. So we've sort of been talking about the bigger world out there. Now that you know this kind of thing, that you know about not being limited by the name, what is your daily practice? What do you do each day to be in this world?
Good question. I practice the Buddhism of the Soka Gakkai by chanting the words Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I do this in the morning, maybe an hour, and maybe an hour at night. And this is a practice to connect my life to my greater self and to my greater life and to the life of the universe itself, which is always seeking ways to grow and develop without boundaries, without limitations, on a kind of a path of continual, infinite, eternal development. That's about it.
Well, I'm not letting you off the hook that easily. So let's take you through your day. So you get up in the morning and you do the chant. When do you do most of your writing?
I like to write in the morning. It seems like things flow a lot. When I get to noon, I get kind of fuzzy-headed. And for a couple hours, I can't quite focus too much. And then I just, I work and have other things that I'm doing. And I got to go to the grocery store and you get the food. And, my wife and I love to cook, and we love to make dinners together. And so that's kind of the day. And as far as writing, the books I've written, 11 books, have come sometimes in the morning, but a lot of times later at night, maybe half an hour, just a half an hour, where I will be sitting there and put down 3 or 4 words or a sentence, and it just flows. If something comes out of me, and it just writes itself. And so over a period of years, I just collect these things and put them together, and they make a book here and there. And I hope people enjoy them. And it's just trying to share something positive, beautiful about life.
I recently interviewed someone who said that they live a life by following their heart. I'm not sure that I'm there yet, but I wonder if there are things that really touch your heart. Like, for example, does the outdoor world intrigue you, or the trees and the flowers, or, sometimes when I'm up early, I like to see the sunrise. What are the things that really bring you that kind of joy?
I love people, and I love to get to know people. I love to have conversations. When I go down, my wife and I go down to have tea and chocolates about once a week at a very famous tea house. They have teas from all over China, and I love to go down there and just begin conversations with people and get to know them. And I love to travel too. I have traveled a lot, making films. There's not so much now, but I love to travel. And what I loved about it was going to different cultures and places and learning from the people there. When I made travel films, for instance, India or Russia or whatever it was, I spent maybe 6 months studying about the culture, about the people. And then when I got there on the ground, I found out what it was really like. It was quite different. And the people told me and explained, they let me know what this culture, and I love to learn about other people, and I love to learn about other ideas and religions and how people think and what we're doing. So those are kind of things that really fascinate me, and trying to bring forth from my life more of my dreams. We all have dreams, and it's sometimes very difficult to bring them out and follow them and keep on track for maybe years. But I think that's what life is about. It's for going for our dreams and whatever. Never giving up. Never, absolutely, ever giving up on yourself, because you're great. Everybody's great.
Well, now I don't know you well enough to ask you this question next, but I will go ahead. What about your advanced age? How are you handling aging?
That's a good question. A week ago, I turned 79, and I sometimes look at it and I'm puzzled, because I'm in good health. I'm declining somewhat. I can't do some of the things that I used to do, but I feel like I'm just starting out. I feel like it's a whole new life ahead, and it kind of amazes me, because I'm 79 and maybe I should be hobbling around with a cane and giving up and retreating to a room someplace and reading a book. But that's what kind of amazes me, is I'm this age, and I just I feel like a youth constantly, and it's I don't know if that's strange or what, but that's the way I feel.
That's helpful to me, because I think that's why I do this program. I'm really on my own search. I like to have these conversations to see what I can learn. So by listening to you and listening to your writing and listening to your thinking, I'm helped in my own process. And I hope that that's what this program is doing for people. I'm not converting to Buddhism, but I am seeing myself as a searcher for truth and a person who shares that. So on that note, I just want to encourage you to read one last poem, and then we're going to say good night.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. What shall I read? Here's one. This is called The Miracle Is You. By the way, I want to thank you so much, Phyllis. You're doing something quite amazing that not many people can do. Just really reach out and try to connect people and learn and bring out whatever you find out there too. It's really great. This is called The Miracle Is You. At the heart of the most pressing problem lies the key to turning everything around. When the problem will not go away, when it stares you unrelentingly in the face, when you think you can't go on living even unless it changes, this is the turning point. But the problem will never change if you think something is going to magically happen. If you think the solution will arrive knocking at your door to give you relief, if you're waiting for the miracle to happen. The miracle is you. The miracle is summoning up totally new energies from within. It's forging new determinations and then acting and moving ahead with all your might. It's do or die. The miracle is finally believing in yourself. It's depending on no one and no thing. It is making up your mind. It is calling forth infinite resources where you saw no resources. The universe is waiting for you. The universe has given you this problem as a gift. The universe will bend to your every whim, but only when you yourself move with implacable will and determination. It all depends on you. You are the turning point of a miracle. Thank you.
Thank you, James Hilgendorf. I will talk with you again soon. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. It's a pleasure talking to you, Phyllis. Bye-bye now.